Start the record. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar on weight loss. I'm head of yoga at Shvasa with Pradeep Satwamaya. And I've been looking at yoga for weight loss for quite some time. You know, ever since I started teaching yoga about 23 years ago, this one application, yoga for weight loss, has been a very consistent objective and a need. And in many cases, it's worked really well. So I'm going to share from my experience of yoga and weight loss. And let's welcome Nilambri, Narendra. Welcome to the webinar. I hope my voice is clear. I can go ahead with the webinar.
Very clear.
Yes, Pradeep, we can hear you.
Very simple format. I'll share some slides, go through some very important topics on weight loss and yoga. And once I finish that, more important part would be when we can interact. You know, individually, if you have any particular questions, any concerns, and any kind of advice you might need on weight loss, we will have time for that. So maybe if you have any questions while I'm going through the slide, have a notebook, write it down. We will definitely address it at the end of the slides. So we're all set, I guess. Harpreet, welcome. Good morning. Okay, let me
Good morning.
start with the slides. Just let me know if you all can see the slides. Yeah. Weight loss webinar. You can all see it, right? I can go ahead.
Yes.
Well, I did already do a short introduction. I'm Pradeep Satwamaya. I've done a MSc in yoga. You know, this particular stream, MSc in Applied Yogic Sciences, was to do with the application of yoga for various current needs. And you might all know that yoga was meant for something else. And if you go back in history and look at what is the original intent of yoga, it was largely self-realization or liberation from worldly pain and suffering. You know, that's the higher goal. Now, if you look at in the modern day, we have been using it for physical health and especially to keep our body fit and also weight management. And so Applied Yogic Sciences, I was able to relate to how you could use a practice like yoga, which was meant for something else, and how you could apply it to a present day need. And so that's where I started out with the formal education in yoga. And then ever since I've been teaching, I've been certifying yoga teachers. I've done a lot of yoga weight loss as well. Just a quick request. Can all of you mute? I can help mute as well. But if you mute, it will be very helpful, especially, yeah. So just talking about my background, and in this webinar, I'm going to share my experience of the 20-odd years of being with yoga and applying it for various applications, especially physical fitness and weight management. That's one of the key topics for today. So let me start off with the agenda for today. Is going to be very straightforward. Of course, we start out with understanding what is weight loss, what causes weight loss, or weight gain. We'll talk more about weight gain and then look at how you can lose weight. What are the different ways and means of losing weight? And where does yoga stand in all this? You know, what kind of practices in yoga will help us? And how do we utilize or modify some of these yogic practices to suit our need, that is weight loss? We also look at how you could not just understand how yoga helps in weight loss, but also participate in a program and help yourself or family, whoever is interested, get them to start off on this journey of weight loss, which we are starting very soon. Question answers at the end. Okay. What causes weight gain? Various causes. It's not just one, multiple causes. I think one of the most um, common and easily understood is that our intake versus the output. How much we take in, that's food mostly, and how much of activity we do to expend that energy. Usually that imbalance is one of the major reasons, meaning a physically inactive lifestyle. Food, even if you're eating very normal food, but if you reduce your physical activity through the day, that imbalance over a period of time. And usually, I'm sure all of you agree that weight gain happens over a period of many months and years. It's not just 1 month that you put on a lot of weight. That's quite rare, but it's been building up. It usually takes a lot of time because the body has an internal mechanism, a safety mechanism to prevent from putting on weight. So we should understand that if you're putting on weight, then we must have overcome that limit and that safety barrier even, and only then the body starts to put on weight. Because otherwise, it's bodies in bodies. For body to maintain all the physiological function, weight is a big factor. The more the weight in the body, the more the work for the physiological function. So obviously, the bodily function also want to maintain this weight. It's very important if the functioning has to be very smooth and very effective. Another factor that usually contributes to weight gain is genetics, meaning it's in the genes. So you might still be doing activity, your food is all right, but if it's in the genes, a particular body type will put on weight. How this happens is the body's ability to store energy and then energy in the form of, say, various bodily elements is very high. For some, the ability to store is very low, which means they cannot put on weight. No matter what they eat, no matter how much they eat, the body's ability to store it within is pretty weak, and so they will not put on weight. On the other hand, when I say, a body's ability to store things and use the energy very effectively and store as much as possible is a particular type of gene. And it could be, even in some cases, could be abnormalities, but I'm saying generally body type, there are certain body types which, based on geographical locations, their bodies might have adapted to store energy as much as possible. And so you'll see that people from certain regions, certain races have a certain inherent ability to store energy, and that might also contribute to weight loss, especially in the modern day era where we are not as active as, say, our ancestors, our earlier generations used to be. And so that contributes to that imbalance we already talked about. Health conditions and medication, also the moment we fall sick and our physical activity reduces, our food habits goes for a toss, and sometimes medication, side effects of medication also is a reason for weight gain in the body. And one of the biggest one, currently one of the biggest factor, I would say, is stress. Now, stress we will have to deal with stress, and we all have different ways of dealing with stress. Stress is obviously something that we cannot escape as much as we would like to. But the solution to that, I mean, how we deal with stress might be very different. And one of the most common way of dealing with stress is with food, with consuming food. And because simply during that time of consuming food, the mind is kind of paused. kind of diverted from the stress or the challenges or the anxieties that we might be going through at that period in time. And so it's kind of a diversion tactic, and over a period of time, it starts to become a solution. To anytime I want to overcome stress, I want to just get rid of stress, I go and binge eat. And that's like a very widespread problem in the modern days. So stress and stress-related emotional eating, emotional binge eating especially, contributes to this weight gain. And this is a larger cycle. It also affects our sleep cycle as well. Stress is one, it changes our food habits. Stress also deprives us from our, say, good 8 hours or so of good sleep. And that simply shows up in the next day, and the stress is a little higher the next day if you haven't slept enough. And then, it just snowballs into something bigger very soon. So stress is a big factor for weight gain in the modern day. We may not have genetical factors. We might still be pretty active running around or, activities through the day, but stress, usually, when the stress catches up with us, we are probably in our midlife, maybe 30s, 35 is when all of this becomes kind of converges on us. And so that's a time when the body's metabolic activity is also slowing down. So the chance of putting on weight is higher, and stress just enhances this. It just kind of blows it out of proportion. So I would say if we can deal with some of these, we can handle weight gain. Usually health conditions, obviously, we cannot do much. Genetics, we cannot do much. But the first and the last one, the food and physical activity imbalance, we can definitely be conscious of it and take control. And stress and emotional factors and sleep, enough sleep during the night is also something that we can take control. We can cope up with stress in a better way. We may not be able to eliminate it completely, but better coping up mechanisms are useful. And I think to some extent, economic affordability of the right kind of food is also an issue, cause of weight gain. Just generalizing some of the most popular reasons why someone would gain weight, but there could be others as well. All right, what are the principles? Generally, we talk about some of these main factors when we have to say, this is how I would tackle weight loss especially, right? I look at diet, I look at physical activity, and daily being physically active during the day, and also physical activity, like an intense activity, like an exercise activity, is something that I would look at. So these are very common, and you must already know some of these, that this is how we tackle weight gain in the modern day. Now, supporting factors could be interesting and probably might be a game changer, right? Because we all know about this, and if we can do that, the main factors are there, but the effectiveness of the main factor will come down to these other supporting factors. Increased awareness of physiology. I'm sure all of you would agree that we are not as connected to our body as we were at some point in time. Maybe even if you compare it to earlier generations, we would say that we are not as connected. Why is that? Simply because of the kind of world we live in. We have sense stimulus drawing us out of our body, and we are constantly looking outward, right? And there's the phone, there is the internet, and there's so much of sensed stimulus that draws us out of our. Can all of you mute, please? Welcome, those of you who just joined. Welcome. Hope you're able to follow what I'm talking. So we are right now talking about the factors and supporting factors especially. So I was talking about physiology. Look at the example of appetite. Do we know when we are really hungry? And do we know whether it is bodily hunger or mental or emotional hunger? We're not able to make out the difference between these. So we just feel like eating, we go and eat. But was it really bodily hunger that was the reason behind this craving, and or was it something else? Just to be able to identify this goes a long way in maintaining weight and proper lifestyle. So I was talking about appetite as one example, but look at various other examples. Sleep. How about sleep? We found ways to keep ourselves awake, and we just talked about how sleep is important and how it probably slowly snowballs into something very big. So to ask ourselves, do we know when we have to now go to sleep? I mean, we have found ways, I said, it could be coffee, or it could be even phones and internet that just keeps us awake and keeps us going, even when our bodies are crying out loud, saying that I want to sleep now. And obviously, just connecting to our regular physiological functions and urges goes a long way in weight management. So that's one of the supporting factors. We'll see why, how that could be enhanced, right? We say we've lost our ability, now we need to regain awareness of the internal physiological function. So we will have to find ways to do that. And kind of mindset also goes a long way. We said we have to tackle stress, but that's not just a one day's job, or for a week. If I tackle stress, that's not enough, because it has become a part of who we are, how we function, our mental type, if you would want to use that word. So changing that is going to be a long-term game. Changing how we react to situations around us is that cannot be changed overnight. We have to probably use some long-term interventions, and consistently practicing those is the only way for us to say, if I have to change my mindset into say, I will not take as much stress, it's not that easy. So point is, that goes a long way even. One is there is stress around, but the way you perceive things could be different. And even if those same stressors are around us, but how we take it can be different. Sleep and rest, we said, okay, that's an important factor. We'll see how all these, not just the main factors, but supporting factors can be addressed through yoga. Diet, I'll not go too deep into diet because this is not a class on diet, but there are many methods available: calorie restriction, high protein diet, low carb diet, and say intermittent fasting. A combination of this might work for us, or maybe one would work really well for us. And so it's important that we identify which one is working and stick to it. But diet is no doubt one of the very important factors, because we talked about one of the primary factors being the imbalance between how much we take in and how much we expend. And so what we put into our mouth is going to be very, very important. But without spending too much time on that, I would like to say that, okay, with any program that you take in, please consider diet, if not at the same time as you take up a weight loss program. Sometimes tackling too many things might be an issue, or might be the problem. Because if you change your diet at the same time you're picking up a new exercise routine and trying to make changes in your lifestyle, that's already a lot to change in anyone's life. Say on that particular day you started, okay, I wanted to change all of this. But there is a way to do this very systematically. First and foremost, I think what you should include is the exercise part. That 1 hour or 45 minutes that we take out every day, and become consistent with that. That's going to be the first step. Second step is going to be, we're already eating a certain kind of food. So making small changes in our food habits is going to be the next step, meaning once the exercise part has become established, then you can look at the food part. So I would say we will look at food in our program as well. But for now, we know that, okay, food is very important and there is a way to go about how to change our food habits. Most importantly, with yoga practice, what you will gain is mindful eating. I mean, we cannot have all the knowledge of all the food ingredients and saying that what this will do to me or will this increase weight or not. There is some amount of knowledge required to start off, but ultimately we'll have to rely on our bodily intelligence to make the choice of what food we will be eating. Which is why that connection to the physiological functioning of the body, awareness of the body itself goes a long way. Because even to tell if certain food is good for you or your body or not, you need to be connected to your body. You need to have followed it, not just while eating the food in terms of taste and how it feels in the mouth, but also what it does as it goes into the stomach and the following few hours and maybe the following day itself, how you sleep after eating that kind of a food. All of this requires for you to be connected to the body. And so yoga practice is going to bring in this element. Otherwise, not being mindful, but, signing up for a program and just eating whatever someone asks you to do might work sometimes, but most of the time it will not last very long. So the only way or the permanent, safer way to go about food is to allow the body to pick what is right for you. And initially, yes, you will need help, but after that, leave it to the body's intelligence. Body knows what to eat and what not to eat, when to eat, how much to eat. As long as you are able to listen to it and act accordingly, the body will tell you what. So having said that, I'll move on to the next aspect about being active throughout the day. Well, there's something called non-exercise activity, meaning I mentioned, we all sign up for a 1 hour activity, cardio activity or intense activity for losing weight. That's very normal. But is that the best way, or is that enough? I do, intense cardio activity for 1 hour and rest of the day I'm least bothered about my physical activity. Well, research have clearly they indicate towards saying that, yes, you could have a great 1 hour program per day or a few days a week, but how you utilize your physical body and meaning bodily activities throughout the day, spread throughout from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. Now that plays a much bigger role in losing and maintaining weight. So if you think I've chosen the right program, the practice is intense, 1 hour, and I'm done with it, I can then not do anything throughout the day. That's not the way to solve this problem forever, right? The only way is for us to create our everyday activity, meaning it's part of our everyday life. It could be as simple as, say, walking the stairs or maybe walking as much as possible wherever you go. I'm sure there is a way to include walking as a part of that activity. Even if you drive using your car, you should be able to find a way to walk as much as possible. And how about household work and gardening and a few of these things are the way to make it a lifestyle where it's not like you sign up for this, right? It's an activity that you do every single day. And once you make it a habit, then this stays with you for life. And obviously that 1 hour, 45 minutes of daily activity could also become a habit, but that alone is not enough. We'll have to change the way we live throughout the waking time, at least, during the day, as much as possible to stay physically active is going to be the best change you can bring about in the physical side of it. So understand this, there's something called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, meaning how we expend energy while doing non-exercise activity. That's throughout the day. And that's a bigger factor because it's spread throughout the day. And not just that 1 hour of intense activity that might burn a certain calories for sure, but this is the rest of the waking hours, say rest of the 12, 13 hours that you're awake, apart from that 1 hour of exercise, you can still work on expending that energy or keeping that balance, keeping the body fit. And so do think about how you will work on physical activity, non-exercise physical activity throughout the day. That's an important inclusion to your program. Okay, yoga and weight loss. I think by now you already know what the approach would be. It will be a combination of everything that I just mentioned and how yoga practices contribute to all of this. Physical activity in the classroom, 1 hour of asana. It could be a 45 minutes class of different asanas and different body parts, different positions in space. All of that obviously is one of the ways to solve the problem, right? And then in terms of calorie burn, it may not, it could match some intense activities. Sometimes it might feel like it's not as much, but what else is a yoga program doing is going to be very important. It's not just that it burned about 200, 300 calories and that's why I'm going to lose weight. I mean, that's not the approach here. We already know by now that in our approach is going to be multi-pronged. It's not going to be just that burning calorie part in the classroom. How about breath practices that will help also contribute in losing weight? So that's could be in an asana class or could be a separate pranayama class where you will be doing some heating breath practices that also contributes in a big way in resetting the physiology itself in maintaining an optimal weight of the body. So asana, there is the pranayamas, the breath practices, and we talked about how that body awareness is going to be important, right? And how is that going to be built? It's through the practice of yoga asanas and breath practices. And if you've been practicing yoga, you already would agree with me that it connects to your body, stretch somewhere, a bend somewhere, a kind of a contraction, some part in the body, weight of the body. You get to connect to your body in every asana that you do, right? And so being mindful and including breath as part of every movement is the way to connect to the body. And this connection stays even after the practice. Like I mentioned about some vital functions, urges of the body, like appetite, thirst and sleep and all of this, right? You will be able to take a better call. Okay, now I have to eat, and this is clearly my body being hungry, not my mind. And so I have to eat. And it's also on the other hand, now body feels full, even though my eyes and my mind want more, but listening to your body, and if you're able to check on what the body wants, and you'll also know when to stop, not only when to eat the food, but also how much to eat and when to stop. And also what kind of food. I did mention about how the body will choose a certain kind of food that's best for you, if you can allow body's intelligence to take over. So increased awareness of body will obviously avoid that binging, emotional stress state binging, and obviously will help us in eating at the right time and right amount. And yoga practice will also help you in choosing the right lifestyle, mindful lifestyle choices on a daily basis, whatever different activities you'll choose. And we just talked about how non-exercise activities is going to be one of the important factors, right? Now, when you do a yoga practice and whatever intensity that asana class was, or whatever intensity that pranayama class was, what this does is keeps you kind of active throughout the day. Energy levels are going to be high. The thing with energy levels being high, your sense organs being sharp, and your mind being awake, stress-free, is that you will engage in some activity, physical activity throughout the day. Otherwise, we say, oh, okay, I'm really tired, or I don't want to go there. I don't want to step out. I don't want to do that chore today. I'll push it to tomorrow. This is simply to do with energy level. Now, with the yoga practice, your energy levels are going to be on the higher side. And that simply motivates you to stay physically active throughout the day. And that is enough for what we called as non-exercise physical activity, thermogenesis. And so, you see, it could be a simple 45 minutes, 1 hour yoga class that you're doing, but how we do yoga, asana practice, pranayama practice, or even meditation and yoga nidra practices is actually contributing a lot more that happens throughout the rest of the day. So we cannot simply say, okay, in that 1 hour, I burned so much calorie and that's how much weight I'm going to lose. And so I either choose this program or not choose this program. But what it's doing to the rest of your day is a bigger contribution rather than just that 1 hour. You'll have to do that 1 hour per day. There's no question about it. Regular exercise is recommended for everybody. But what yoga approaches, yoga principles does to you, your mind throughout the day is an important factor in losing weight. There are other practices in yoga and Ayurveda, but we will not talk about that because we may not be able to do that through the online program. But if you happen to meet an Ayurvedic doctor or a yoga therapist where there are some cleansing practices, detox practices. I haven't listed that here simply because we won't be doing that on the Shvasa platform. But also include some of those practices there, then your ability to lose and maintain weight is going to be really, really high. And to be able to maintain that is a bigger problem for most of us. We might somehow lose weight, but then maintaining is always a problem. Sure, with yoga program, it's going to be slow and steady. The slower that you take to lose weight, the longer it's going to be with you. One other big factor in yoga that we use is the mind part of it, sankalpa, we call. And you see, we understand some of these, and maybe I'm reasoning why you should do all of this. So you probably are buying into my logic and saying, yes, I understand. Yes, I think this will help me lose weight. But the problem area is not so much in understanding what to do, but in staying motivated to do it for longer. Because all these programs work only in the long term, just doing it for 1 week, 2 weeks is not going to help. Few months, 3, 6, 9 months, 1 year, 3 years, that's how these programs work. And how do I stay motivated to keep doing this for that long? Same thing every day, over and over again. Now that's where some of the yogic practices will help, where we use this concept called sankalpa, meaning we have a life goal, could be long-term or short-term, and but we look at utilizing the subconscious mind, and we kind of make a resolution during that subconscious state of mind so that our ability to stay motivated and go after whatever goal we've set is much, much higher. And so we use this sankalpa in meditation and yoga nidra classes. And so this again is going to work subconsciously. Now we said, okay, consciously we're going to do that, activity, that, and all kinds of things. But what if the mind is working even when we are asleep? That's the power of the subconscious. And that's where yoga practice can also help, because of, we use this, we understand and we use this state of mind very effectively in practices like yoga nidra and meditation. So those are the practices that you will be doing: asana, breath practices, meditation, and yoga nidra. And these done over a period of a few weeks and few months is going to almost change your bodily functions and a mental mindset slowly but steadily towards something that you will be able to understand health, understand your body, and you'll be able to maintain, you'll know what to do, and you'll have the energy to go after doing that. And the sankalpa, the mental strength to go after in achieving. Okay, what do we have? We are coming up with the 3-month weight loss challenge, you could say. So not just those 3 months, because that will be a fantastic start if you can stick to the all 12 weeks of the program. But like I said earlier, if you're losing weight over a longer period of time, that weight loss is going to stay with you for much longer. It's like if you lose it in a very short period of time, there are chances of it coming back in a short period of time. If you stop doing for a while, it will automatically come back in that same amount of time that you spent in losing. So slower and steadier approach is the best way for us. And start of the program, like I said, the physical part, the activity, 1-hour activity, the exercise activity is the first step. Because that's the new thing. If you're not doing anything all these days, then including that in our daily life is a new thing. So we'll have to spend a little energy and start out with that, and then eventually make changes in the diet and lifestyle that will follow. So it's a very systematic change, not all of them at the same time. So that's the pathway that we have here. You just have to start out with the physical activity and then maintain that for the next 3 to 6 months before you add on to diet and lifestyle changes. Now, what's a safe way to lose weight? How much should we lose weight? Like 1 to 2 pounds a week, almost for everybody. I mean, it varies from one person to the other based on our metabolic rate, age, and various other factors. But generally speaking, 1 to 2 pounds per week, that is half a kg to 1 kg per week, is a safe way. And so in a month, anywhere between 2 kgs to 4 kgs is a good safe weight loss, meaning it's not rushed, meaning it will stay with you for longer. And also, you might see that weight loss may not be very linear. I do for 1 week, I lose half a kg. If I do for 3 weeks, I lose 1.5 kg. It's not like that. Sometimes initially you might lose a lot of weight, and then after that it kind of becomes stagnated, and then again it might start to change. Or it could be the other way around. Initially it might be a really uphill task, you're not losing much, but if you stay at it and one fine day it starts to work, you need to break those barriers within. And so once that happens, it will change. So go with a holistic approach and keep doing what is proven to be effective in most cases for most of us. And so you just have to keep doing that. Most of the time you start 1 week, 2 week, okay, I've lost only 200 grams, I'm going to stop now. And I think that's a mental block that most of us have. And that's why we've included this sankalpa part of it, and using the subconscious mind for us to keep going. So be holistic in the approach, not just burning calories or just eating, restricting calorie in our food, but the talk was about how other factors are important ways of maintaining a healthy weight. Make a long-term plan with milestones and small wins, and focus on the small wins for now. Our bigger goal is, yes, probably 5-6 kgs for most of us. But you don't have to start by stressing yourself about that 5-6 kgs. Smaller goals, smaller time periods, and slowly, say next 3 months is important. Then you look at whatever has happened, take a note of what has happened, how much you've lost, and then look at the rest of it, rather than, targeting the entire weight loss, all at once. Research have shown that, even if you lose your body weight, about 8 to 10% of your current body weight, the impact it has on overall health is much higher than 8 to 10% of overall health. It's not very linear. lose 5% of my body weight, my health will improve by 5%. Actually, it's even more, So even if you lose 8 to 10% over a period of next 3 months, your health is going to change quite a bit. Significant changes are going to happen, even with that small 10% improvement in your weight. So that is the program, and we need to go in with an attitude. We cannot continue with our old, excuses. I didn't have time, or I'll do it next year. I'll do it next month. That's always going to be there. I'll tell you, only more excuses will come up, more reasons will come up. The more we keep pushing, it's never going to be less. There's no ideal time to start off a program. It is now, as in we just have to do it. This is about our own body and health. So there's no point in kind of mind tries to trick us because it probably is lazy or whatever the reason. We need to make sure that we do this for ourselves. We owe it to our body and our health. And so we need to do it now. Enough of excuses. I think that's the biggest thing. I gave you a lot of reasons and trying to tell you that, okay, your guy's going to work and it's going to do it this way. At the end of the day, nothing matters. You just have to start. The only way you're going to bring about a change is by starting to do the practice, and not by listening to hundreds of these webinars or reasons why weight loss is possible and why you should do it. It'll only start. Now, all this past 45 minutes, I don't think any one of us have lost weight, because no matter what I've said and no matter how sound the principles are, until we start doing the practice, rolling the mat out and doing the practice, this is not. So that's the attitude I want you to go into the program, and I open up for any question and answers. Anybody has any questions, could be personal or could be something that is generic about the program, you're most welcome to ask. Anybody? You can also send in your comments, your questions. I can take it up from the chat. But I would be more excited to have you talk and listen to you, and maybe others can also listen to what your question is, what your concerns are. Any questions? No? Which means you're going to start off tomorrow. There's no reason why we shouldn't start tomorrow. Right? There will be a lot of reasons that might be popping up in our head, but there's only one reason to start off. That is, we won't change until we start doing it.
Okay. Hi, Pradeep. I have a question.
Go ahead, Arpreet.
I just want to understand that, you said it's a holistic program that would also include some portion of the diet also.
Yes.
So if you can give us an indicative, way of what kind of diet would that be? Because honestly, I've enrolled myself in many programs, but where I lack is not the motivation to exercise, but the motivation to cook. Because, we all are, I don't know about this, but I'm a working professional. And I have a younger one to take care, and then the household chores also. So in midst of all this, just to cook something specifically for myself is very challenging.
Sure. I think that is a very important question. Should we go out of our way to cook something else only for me because I am in the weight loss program? That's not going to work. That's not sustainable at all. But are you going to do that only for a certain period, and what will happen after that? Right? These are very genuine and important questions.
Yeah.
A large part of our diet principles or diet recommendation will be Ayurvedic. And if you already have been eating, say, mostly the Indian food in the subcontinent, the way we eat here, it's already aligned to Ayurveda to some extent. We might have to make small changes, but largely it's already aligned. Quality, quantity, and timing and habits might have to change. but the Ayurvedic doctor will be giving you recommendations. And this is based on body type. We will evaluate your body type first, and based on that, a certain specific diet would be recommended for you. A broad framework. Again, it's not like specifically eat 2 dosa or 1 sabji, or it's not that kind of a recommendation. Certain kind of food, that you might probably be able to easily find and cook at your place, and enough flexibility so that you're not really troubled by the choice, lack of choice that you might have. And the body type is meaning that it's tailor-made for you. The effect is much more if you tailor-make it to your own body type. And there are quite a few habits that are generally very good for everybody to follow, or during meal time, or when to eat, how much to eat, and all of those recommendations will also be given. These are all long-term eating habits, healthy eating habits we all should start to integrate in our life. And so that's what will be shared within the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Pradeep.
Anybody else has any other questions? Food? Yoga program? Don't underestimate the non-physical yoga practices like the yoga nidra and the meditation. Pranayama also, to some extent, people say, okay, I'll do only physical activity to lose weight. That's one approach. I mean, that's a very limited understanding of how you lose weight, burning calories. Which is why these some non-active physical activity, non-intense practices like yoga nidra, pranayama, and how you are active throughout the day, be it you caring for your child or playing with them or helping with the house chores, I think they all go much far than a lot of these fad exercise programs that we hear in the modern day. Just imagine how did our ancestors maintain this weight? They didn't have this fancy recommendation given to them, or they didn't have access to any of these, right? They wouldn't even, there were no phones for that matter. I mean, if you go back about 75, 80 years. And so, there has been a lot of research around this saying that, okay, not only a 1 hour exercise program, but it is all about how you bring every element of your daily life together. Sleep, wakeful time, physical activity, the mental attitude, and then of course the food and exercise always. All right. Anybody wants us to reach out to you if you have any personal questions, maybe if not on the forum, if you want to talk, we can reach out to you. And Dhruva is here. Dhruva would be coordinating, maybe call you or drop an email if you want to have any one-on-ones. And he can also explain to you what's happening with the yoga, the weight loss challenge that's starting up soon. And there's no start date ended. We just start off when you're ready, and which is now actually. So hopefully I'll see most of you in the program, and we will probably talk more about this, because this requires a little bit of hand-holding at the beginning, but after that it's yours. It has to be yours. You cannot depend on others forever. But initially some help and assistance is absolutely fine. You shouldn't hesitate at all. And at some point you will be helping out others. Surely your own family, friends, you will be. So initially that initial help, don't hesitate at all. You're doing it for a good cause. If you're healthy, your contribution to everybody around you, work, family, is only going to increase. So staying healthy with the right weight is one of the important things that you could do to yourself. Yeah, Prasanna.
One quick question. So if we sign up, what are the class timings would be?
Multiple options you will get, Prasanna. Enough for both Eastern and Western time zones. And mornings also you'll get enough options. Evenings you get enough options. Weekends also you will get options. So we've been running that program since Jan, so you
right.
understand, when people might want to do. And I did mention quite a few practices, right? One is the weight loss asana class itself.
Sure.
That's important.
Sure.
And
Pranayama.
parallelly, I did mention pranayama, yoga nidra.
Yoga nidra. Yes.
And sometimes you'll have to also somehow include those practices as well.
Sure.
As of now, you have enough options, both mornings and evenings.
And how is this different than the annual membership? Like the annual members also.
Yeah. So here, one is diet is a very important thing. We'll be tracking your weight. There's a WhatsApp group that you'll be a part of, and so there is quite a bit of activity going on there. You have a community that will support you, not just coming into the class and going away. And so this will be more of, at least this next 3 months, the focus will be in the group community itself. And so diet recommendations and the classes, separate classes for weight loss are scheduled. So you will get to attend those. And the interaction that you can have in the group itself is going to be great.
Okay. So you still recommend like joining this in addition to the annual membership?
You already have an annual one, Prasanna?
Yes.
Okay, can you talk to Dhruva? He might be able to help you out how to sort that out. We can,
sure.
Here is it will not overlap and we can help you out.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, no further questions. Thank you for joining in Sunday morning. I wish you all the best, whatever program that you start off for yourself. We need to take care of health, no questions about it. So I wish you all the best in your endeavor. See you soon. Namaste.
Thank you.